Start from this end and we'll go up. So Ed Aldana is president and founder of Iova Communications. He's a graduate of CalU. Go CalU. He helped found Iova Communications, an award-winning online business development and communication firm. It's best known for its web development and online marketing services, but it's grown now to actively manage and consult on both online and offline marketing and communication strategies. So thanks for being here, Ed. We appreciate it. And then next is Kiffin Taylor. He's a partner with Digital Imagination. He has over 23 years of experience creating and marketing hundreds of web-based solutions for, and now, mobile devices. He developed e-commerce and e-business projects for startups to Fortune 100 companies. So welcome, Kiffin, and thanks for being here and sharing your expertise. And right down at the end here, Rahul Alim. He is an inbound marketing and design specialist with Custom Creatives. He has over 14 years of experience in digital marketing, strategy, and business development, and has helped clients such as Move.com, Advertise.com, and thousands of small to medium-sized business owners with their strategies and executions. So thank you for being here today.
To get down to the basics, any website needs to be designed for who your audience is. Whether it's somebody that you want to buy or get information from you, whatever that might be, you need to take into consideration what they want, what they're looking for, and make it easy for them to find that information. So that's kind of the general, and a lot of you may know that, but you'd be surprised how many websites do not take that into consideration. They throw up basically a brochure online, which is not what people want to do online these days. More people, especially the younger generations, are completely mobile. The desktop to them is just not even an option. So you do have to be mobile compliant. That's very big in these days. And your mobile can't just be a different version of your website. It has to actually work in a way to where the people coming in from their mobile devices can navigate and find the information that they want very quickly.
Every website, is going to be looked at differently depending on what industry you're in, demographics, etc. But one thing that we keep in mind when we're building websites is people's attention span. People's attention spans are shrinking. They're like 15, 20 seconds on your website. If they aren't getting what they think they should be getting, they're going to bounce. They're going to hit the back button. They're going to find someone else. So we've kind of drilled down to about 4 aspects that we really want to hit in those first 15, 20 seconds on a subconscious level. We realize that the average user, when they hit a website, is asking 4 questions in the back of their head. Who you are, what you do, why should they care, what is your competitive advantage, and how do they engage with you? If those 4 things, who you are, what you do, why you should care, and how do they engage with you, aren't evidently and clearly presented to them in a way where they don't have to think about it, you pretty much lost that user. Assuming they're coming to your website for the first time, they're not coming there because they're referred or for any other reason. But we're strictly talking about new users hitting your website. This is a drill that we sit down and go through with all of our new clients before we start building the website, and we document this very clearly. And it's part of our pre-launch plan. So those are probably the 4 things that I would say would be the key to making sure that your website is going to get more than 20 seconds of someone's attention, which is the first hurdle you have to get through. We show them statistics on bounce rates. Generally, when we can show them a website that has hit those points very well, and we can show them that website has high conversion rates. Obviously, we protect our clients' information. We just show case studies. And then we show them a client who insisted on doing it a different way, and then we see the data show something very different. The nice thing about online marketing compared to traditional, billboards and magazines and whatnot, we have data. We don't have to overthink this. We can follow the data. It's like it leaves a little trail for you, and if you follow it, data-driven decisions are much easier to make than arbitrary decisions based on gut feelings or, yeah, we think that billboard did pretty good this month because we had some more phone calls. With conversion tracking and data, you can know when you make a change in a website, did it increase my engagement rate on the desired page? Did my conversion rate go up? Did it go down? And you always want to be testing. A/B testing is very important as well.
Yeah, I mean, right now when people get to a website, a lot of people will leave. It's approximately like 96 to 99% of people will leave the website on their first visit. So we've worked so hard, you spend a lot of money, you get people into the website, then they leave, there goes. So in order to convert them a little bit better is give them something for free, maybe a free download. That email ultimately becomes your gold because you can now remarket to them through automation. So if you pre-write emails or you don't write any emails in advance at all, at least you have a database of interested people that you've given really good content to away for free, and that becomes your lead magnet. That magnet creates a little bit of authority with you and your first relationship with a customer to take them to that next stage of the customer journey. That's one of the things we utilize in our business is give away things for free. If you want to know, get a free website audit, get a free SEO checklist, or whatever it may be for our industry, there's a lot of things you can do in your industries as well, or your clients' industries. Another way to measure conversion or increase conversion is video. Video is super, super engaging. Everybody loves video. So you can get your message across. You can create a relationship one-on-one with your customer, kind of like a newscaster. You feel like you know them on TV. Same thing here in a local market. That video shows your authority, and you can develop that relationship to a deeper level than your competitors, giving you a little bit of an edge. Some of the other things that we utilize, kind of put a little checklist here, is we use pop-ups on certain pages. So before someone leaves, we want to give them a pop-up with a cool offer. Nothing like join thousands of business owners, something generic or anything like that. You want to give them something hard to the point so they want it, and you want to see how you're going to solve their problem. And that's how you get them in your funnel. Because the customer journey has completely changed these days. It's not find and buy. It's find, look at a couple other competitors, go to Yelp, look at the reviews, get busy, go away, hang out with your family, and then they'll figure out how to come back. So you have to make that first impression count to keep them in your, to go along this journey with them. And if you are able to capture their email address or any form of contact information, you're a big step ahead of your competitors.
Also, to expound on that, I agree with both of the gentlemen up here. But you, depending upon what you're selling, just like they said, you have to cater to your customer. And one of the analogies that I like to use is when you go into Best Buy, if somebody comes up to you and say, "Hey, what do you want? What are you looking for? What do you hate that." But you want to, if you're looking for a television, you're going to want to go back to the television section. You're going to want to see the televisions out there. And you're going to want to get information on those as quickly as possible. So you don't want somebody bugging you, but you do want somebody there when you want them there. And the reason why I use that analogy, same thing with a website. You want to quickly get them to where they want to go. And just like he said, it's fast. You got to get there. They got to be able to come into your website, and they've got to be able to find what they want very quickly. Then once they get there, it's their interest level goes up, and this is where a little bit different between social media and websites, and why you should still have a website depending upon what you're selling, is people want more information. They want to compare. They want to find out the features. There's a lot of things that they want to find out. There's some people that just want to go on there, buy something, and that's it. But there's a lot of people who like to compare. And having that comparison available through a mobile device and also through your website is huge. That can make or break whether you sell something if that's what the client is. I mean, there's different variations for everything and every company depending upon who they're trying to go to and what they're trying to sell. But that's the basic. Make sure that you meet the needs of your users, your clients, your people who are coming to that. You spend all this money, social media, on PPC or whatever, to get people to your site. The one thing that you want to do is don't disappoint them once they do get to your site. Basically, you have to ask the questions when you're deciding what platform they're going to be on based upon your client. There's hundreds of them out there. You need to find out what your agency is going to do, what platform they're going to build it on, what are the options with that platform, what are the deterrents with that platform, what are the problems with it. Unfortunately, a lot of agencies will basically rifle shot most of their sites. They know how to use a particular, whether it's Magento or whether it's this or that or whatever it might be, they rifle shot that. And you just need to make sure that you ask the questions of that agency that you're bringing in for your client. Make sure that they know what they're doing, what are their options, how are they going to bring people into the website, those types of questions. And I'll let these gentlemen also answer that as well. That's kind of the general.
Yeah, I mean, knowing the capabilities of the agency you're working with is important because your website is your hub. It's your central hub of everything. You're driving the most traffic to it. So the scalability is important. And when you're working with a web design company, you have to know their skill set beyond web. Do they know conversion rate optimization? Do they know Google Analytics? Do they know search engine optimization? Because we have people that come to us and they'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars of their hard-earned money, and we have to be the bearer of bad news. And then they look bad at us, and they're like, well, we don't want to restart from the beginning. We're like, well, the platform you're on or the way it's coded, it's just not right. We have to start over. Because sometimes it's easier to start over than salvage what we have because we're just going to be running through mud going forward on a future basis. So having those questions beforehand when you're interviewing and going through that process of selecting somebody is really important.
Well, from a platform level, I mean, I would say most of the major platforms out there right now, really you're seeing a lot of WordPress sites is probably one of the biggest one right now. You have Joomla, you have Magento. There is one up and coming that's pretty good called Expression Engine. Most of these platforms are going to have some kind of SEO capabilities, and most of them are going to have pretty robust capabilities and allow you to either develop plugins or to have plugins that have already been developed by other developers out there. I think to go back to what most of these guys said is really ask these questions up front from your agency or from your developer. Generally, if you're an established company with a real budget to work on your website, you're usually better off going with an agency that has the developer working side by side with their SEO team, the marketing team. You're going to tend to get a better end result that way because they're going to look at it holistically as opposed to kind of patching something together at the end. So that would be my recommendation, is to kind of echo what these guys are saying and say really get to know the people working on your site beforehand. Most of the horror stories I get from my clients who come to us are we worked with this guy who's working out of his basement. He's a one-man show. We have no idea how he did it. We have no idea what platform he used. He just said he would do it for this cheap price. And then they end up with something that they really can't use. And like Raul said, instead of trudging through the mud, you kind of end up recommending, well, we should start from scratch and let's do this right, which they don't usually like to hear.
Well, there's some that make it more difficult. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I mean, just like these guys, we get a lot of clients who come to us that they've already trudged through the mud and they're having problems and they want to get it fixed. If one of the recommendations to you guys is when you're interviewing and you're going through the due diligence on any agency that you're going to use, find out what platform they're on and Google it. Because you'll find out if there's problems with it or people complaining about they couldn't get the SEO or they had to switch to another platform or whatever it is, you're going to find it. So Google it. Find out what platform they're using. Google it. Find out the pros and cons. Most everything has a star rating now, so you can find out whether it's a 5-star or 4-star or whatever that might be. Keep in mind that there's always people that poo-poo certain things, and that's just going to happen. But if they have a much higher 4- and 5-star compared to 1 stars, 2 stars, then that's a pretty good platform. And Google it and find out the information specifically. If you're looking for SEO or the marketing capabilities of that platform, then Google that specifically and find out the information on that. And there are some companies that go down the path of only doing social media as their website and marketing. And if it's a restaurant or a food truck or something like that, hey, that's perfect for it. But if you're a business that has a lot of products and a lot of information, you can't do that with Facebook. You just can't do it. It's an augmentation to your website, and it's a way to bring people to your website. And it's also a way to engage with people. And nowadays, especially with the younger generations, you want to engage with them. You want to start to get a rapport with them. You want the user-generated content, that's really big in the industry right now. So where you get people to be your brand ambassador for basically nothing. They're just out there. They're all trying to get the most people to their Facebook or to their Instagram. So they will go out there and they'll promote certain things, hoping that they'll be recognized. And if they like your product and they have a lot of followers, that'll be great. I mean, my son right now is like a burgeoning photographer, and he's just a junior in high school. But through Instagram, he has a number of companies and a number of other photographers that are following him and making comments on his pictures, which is fantastic. I mean, 5, 10 years ago that's impossible. How do you get to these people? How do you get to a famous photographer if you're just a junior in high school? You couldn't. I mean, even if you tried, you probably wouldn't get to them. If you showed up in their door and knocked on the door, you probably wouldn't get to them. But now through social media, it opens so many more doors. And depending upon what you're selling and what your service is, you probably need a website as well. And I'll let these guys also talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, what's more important? It depends on the business, of course. That's always going to be the starting point, is knowing the target audience. But it's also multi-channel marketing. Having both is important. If Facebook is the channel that makes you the most revenue, spend a lot of your resources there. But don't fall back and not have a website, because this could be your platform. So whether it's a one-page landing page website that promotes your Facebook page, that's totally fine, because you'll be leaving a lot of traffic and opportunity on the table if you focus only on one platform, because your customers are everywhere. It's multi-channel marketing. The same customers on Facebook could be on Instagram, and then different customers of that base in a different generation could be on Snapchat. So I would definitely recommend being everywhere you can with the resources you have, but stay focused on where your prime customers are and where you can monetize the most.
And just adding a couple more things real quick before I hand it over to Ed. Not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody's on Instagram. So you have to keep that in mind and know your customers and know that they may not be there. So it's really who you're trying to get to. Try and think of what their mindset is and knowing whether or not they might be on social media. My wife doesn't want to do social media at all, just doesn't want to do it. But Pinterest, she'll go on that and she'll look at Pinterest. So it's really finding where your clients are and how to market to them. As from the very beginning when I started out, I said, know your clients. If you know your clients and where they're at and what they do and what their propensities are, then you're much better off.
Well, just to reinforce what both these guys are saying is we like to think of your website as kind of the anchor of your online brand. It's really the starting point where you can be creative, you can have complete control of what's going on, and you don't have to be restricted to any system like Facebook or Instagram and their capabilities and their limitations. The other thing that's important to note is the finicky nature of social media. Anyone remember something called MySpace? That kind of disappeared overnight. Now imagine if your whole business was relying on MySpace. Now I know it's making a resurgence lately because of music, but it's not the behemoth it was at one point, and it really, I mean, when you have these millennials, they kind of move in this kind of big giant pack, and if all of a sudden something comes up overnight that's really cool, Snapchat, they're all gonna switch. They're all gonna move over. Facebook has been pretty consistent in its user base, but its time on site is going down because people start checking their Facebook. They're still seeing what's going on Facebook, saying happy birthday to their friends, whatnot. But then they're going onto the Instagram, they're going onto the Pinterest, or they're hitting up Snapchat, and they're getting spread thinner and thinner as more social media platforms that are cool or hip are kind of coming up. So social media is kind of finicky. So I would, definitely advise putting all your eggs in one basket. And I definitely want to echo the multi-channel marketing approach as being the right way to go. Not as far as how to affect your SEO, actually. Google's not going to say, oh, you're doing too much social media, we're going to penalize you. In fact, that's probably going to help your SEO. What you can overdo in social media is affecting your user experience. You can overdo it. You can get to the point where people are saying, I am sick of hearing you're seeing your posts on Facebook. I get it. I don't want a vacation to Bali this month. I don't want it next month. I don't want it ever. I'm gonna unlike you. So we try to tell our clients to follow a 70-30 rule when they're posting. 70% of their posts being informative, engaging, non-sales related, and then maybe 30% of their posts being sales related at the most. You do not want to be trying to ram your product or service down people's throat on social media. It's going to turn them off. The search engines will love it though, because they just see more activity. Periscope is kind of a very interesting platform. I'm really not sure what's going to happen with it. It's kind of taken like the whole Instagram concept to the totally next level. Basically, you can live stream your life, but then you. Sorry?
We're on Periscope right now.
Oh, hi world. The problem with Periscope is that there is a lot of negative publicity around it right now. Obviously, with all the suicides being, live filmed and people using Periscope for maybe not the best uses. We'll just leave it at that. So I think that it's going to change. I think it's going to kind of take the Snapchat route, where originally Snapchat had a lot of negative connotations that came along with it. It was getting a lot of negative press. So they really kind of revamped their platform and made it more PG. I could see Periscope having a similar route, but right now it's kind of interesting and it's something to watch.
On social media too, if you do decide to go down social media for any of your clients, remember you have to stay on it and you have to be diligent about it. That's one of the things a lot of clients, oh, I want to be on Facebook, but then they don't do anything. And you have to advise them of what content that you need. Just like he said on the 70-30 rule, very true. You want to be able to, most of your content is to engage the client and give them some sort of information or whatever it might be that they want. That's how you keep them engaged. Then the other 30%, like you said, is actually getting them to do something either with your company or buy something. On responsive sites, absolutely a must. You have to. All of our clients, if they're older clients that come back to us, we're moving them to responsive now. I mean, you have to do that because the world is running on mobile and mobile devices.
Yeah, you always want to think mobile first because we're in a mobile first world right now. Everybody has their apps, ordering Starbucks on their phones, you're browsing the internet on your phone, so it's outweighed desktop searches already. So you want to definitely have a responsive site. So not only is it just breaks down a desktop version to a device any size, like a iPad mini to an iPhone 5 and everything in between. You want to also have that mobile experience. So you don't necessarily, like a desktop site could have a little bit longer of content and scroll down. On mobile, you want to focus in and pinpoint who your customer persona is, and you may want to hide some of the information from a desktop so you can kind of push them down a path. So you can definitely control what people see on mobile versus desktop. Okay, so I'll give a scenario. Let's say it's a local gym in Camarillo and you want to spike your memberships. I would go with Facebook, number one, because I know it better. You can buy a lot of data, and they have a lot of data on their platform already. And a gym is used to giving offers. So what I would do is I'd run a paid advertisement on Facebook with your offer, maybe a video ad if somebody's comfortable enough to be on a video. Drive them to a landing page that opts them into this free offer. So let's say it's name and email, claim your 7-day free pass. On the next page, I would actually have a double opt-in where it'll say enter your cell phone, get an additional 7 days. So now you get 14 days, and now we have name, email, cell phone. So now we can control the client from a variety of aspects. We can email market to them, and we can text market to them. And then from there, you just manage and track how many leads you brought into your organization. Through some form of CRM, which is a customer relationship management system, where it basically tracks data. So you can see when the lead came in and all their contact data as well. So,
a couple of things on the pay-per-click. I'll go down kind of a different path than probably what they'll talk about. So one of the things is one of my clients was a big solar company that was doing about $1 million a year in pay-per-click and had no idea what was going on. They were just spending $1 million with agencies and whatever. I brought that down to about 300,000, not losing any of the traffic that they were getting. And it's finding things that maybe even, I mean, there's Google, and I'm sure they'll talk about Google and things like that, but also you have to look at some other avenues, like I'll bring up Yahoo. Yahoo still has the most, they're probably getting caught by Gmail. They still have the most emails of anybody, and they track every single thing that you do, even with your emails. So the solar company that I was using, I worked with Yahoo to, when you bring up the news and they have all those little bars that are going across of news and things like that, at least at the time, every 13th one is an ad, and they make them look just like the rest of the news items, whether you're in sports, entertainment, U.S. news or whatever it might be. Every 13th one is an advertisement, and it would look the same. And utilizing things like that you can find, it depends on your client and what they're marketing, who they're trying to get to. But also with these, they could track So that this particular solar company, we could track any other responses to any other solar company that we wanted to. So we could target another solar company's emails back and forth between a client and go after those. It's a little scary because you start to realize how much they're tracking you and how they can pinpoint what you're doing. But if you got an email or you responded to an email, and I could pick whatever solar company I wanted or the however many I wanted, you could market to those people. So basically those ads would come up when that person who had been to or had some sort of interaction with another solar company, those ads would come up in their news feed. So there's a lot of different ways you can get to them. Some of it's scary, but it is there. And I see the police people over there kind of going, because it's a scary world. And when you dive deep into some of these companies, you realize how much information they have on you. It's crazy.
Yeah, just a really quick echo. He says data is money. That's the way the internet works. Google is the biggest guy out there. They have the most data. They have the most advanced algorithm that can aggregate the most data. Therefore, they can present people with ads that are most relevant to them, and they're going to get the most clicks, and people pay for clicks. So I'll really quickly, because talk about that. The elephant in the room: Google and AdWords. Most people will usually start their online marketing, paid advertising campaigns with Google. That's usually a starting point where people will kind of start testing the waters for paid advertising. One thing that you could really do with Google that's going to increase the effectiveness of most campaigns, and this is not across the board, but for the most part, and of course you have to analyze your own product and your service and how it works, is going to be remarketing. Remarketing is fantastic. We've had phenomenal success introducing remarketing to almost all of our clients' AdWords campaigns. And if you aren't familiar with what remarketing is, it simply means when someone lands on your website, they get a little cookie on their browser, and then your ads follow them around the internet. So if they end up on one of their competitor sites that have an ad space, well, you could be advertising directly to them when they're on one of your competitor sites. Or any other site. They could, come to you, and then they could be shopping for shoes somewhere else, and all of a sudden they see your ad pop up, and it just keeps reminding them, hey, we're here. And with remarketing, you don't pay per impression; you're still paying per clicks. They do have impression payments options, I believe, but you can still set up so you're paying for clicks. So even though they're following you around, you don't actually end up paying until they click on your ad. So that would be something I'd recommend to people who are dipping their waters into the AdWords world. Also, not to regress too much, but I do want to say something really important on something that you brought up earlier. And this is backing up a little bit, I apologize, but I think it's really important that people know this. Google has released 2 algorithm updates in the last year. The first one was to give preferential treatment on mobile rankings to websites that pass their mobile responsive test. The second update was to penalize sites that do not. So a site will actually get penalized on the search rankings if you are not mobile responsive, and you can actually Google search Google's mobile-friendly test tool, and you can put your website in there, and it will tell you if you pass or you don't pass. So that's something really important, not to regress too much.
And one more thing to add to that: you can use the big boys all you want, and you'll pay for that. Depending upon who your client is and what they're trying to go to, find out if there's anything in their industry that are websites that they go to. Like I have an event management company that does online event management. I go and try and find where the organizers our events are going to, and then maybe you spend some dollars there instead of at Google, because if they're going to those sites and they're getting emails from those sites, then you're targeting your market more specifically with that, and maybe not paying, most of the time, not paying as much.
Be cool to your audience. Don't always be selling. Just understand what they need and want. You have a one-on-one communication when you're in the social media world. It's not like an email or a phone call. This is like your community and your platform. So, I mean, my most important tip would be just know your audience and be like them. Just give them what they want and interact with them well, respond to them. Because now you have an open mic to a captive audience, and your captive audience can now have an outlet to their sphere of influence and create that viral activity all across the board. So I mean, think about it in just everyday relationships. There's people that are cool and people who are not cool. And that's the same thing. Your best friends are the people that you hang out with and you're attracted to every day. And the people that are annoying, you really kind of avoid. So same thing on social media. Just try not to be that guy.
And definitely in social media, you want to become a resource for whatever your marketplace is or whatever your clients are. You want to become a resource that they want to go to. You don't want to be repetitive, using the same pictures, the same message all the time. People will just turn you off. They'll subconsciously, if they see the same picture in your Facebook post, they just won't read it. It's the same thing. They don't want to know about it. You got to have something that's engaging. You got to have something that gives them a reason to look at whatever your post is. So know your audience. If you're listening really well here, you're hearing all of us say, know your audience, know your users, know what they want, know what they're going to, and give them what they want. If you give them what they want, over time, they will keep coming back to you.
I'm sure everyone's heard the age-old saying, always be selling. Well, when it comes to social media, throw that out the window. Always be engaging. That's really the bottom line. Social media is all about engagement. If you are not engaging with your user base, you're doing something wrong. If you're posting all the time, if you think you're doing all the right things, but you have no engagement, something is wrong. Social media is all about a two-way conversation, like Raul said. It's a direct conversation with your consumer or your potential consumer, and you have to find a way to engage with them. And if you haven't figured that out, keep trying new things, or also see what your competition's doing, and see if you do, if you own a hair salon and you're posting on social media and you're getting very low engagement levels, but then you see one of your competitors across town who salon's broken down, run down, you know the people who work there, they're not as good as your people, and their social media is blowing up. See what they're doing, and it's nothing wrong with if someone's got something figured out. You don't want to steal exactly what they're doing. Don't take their pictures exactly. Don't repost their posts, but see what they're doing right and maybe try to figure out what you're not doing right. Options. I would make sure that I think there are demographics that would be comfortable doing that, and make sure you have an alternative option for people who are not. I promise you, my mother, if someone said, let me pay you through Instagram, she would be like, no, I'm going to go to the bank and get cash. I'll be right back. I'm not doing that. So give them options. There's nothing wrong with trying to get in with the newer trends. It's actually good. It makes your business look hip and trendy, there's nothing wrong with that. But always have some kind of option for the people who may not be that far ahead of the curve.
And there's so many out there, and there's so many coming up. Like, I was talking to my son, and he's getting little projects for his photography, and I said, how'd you get paid? Did they pay you cash? Did they pay check? What'd you get paid? And he said, Venmo. And I said, Venmo? I mean, even we can't keep up with everything. It's going so fast. And I said, Venmo? What's Venmo? And it's vendor money. So and he got paid like that, and it's like instant. And it's just crazy. But again, there's a lot of these options out there, and you can sign up for all of them if you want to. But just remember, your information's out there. Each one of them, you want to make sure that they're secure. Before you use them, do your due diligence. Find out exactly what they're about, their pros and cons, and you just got to keep your personal information. In this age, it's really hard, as close to you as possible, and make sure you know who has it. And how long has this business been in business? What are the ratings? Those types of things. And again, it gets back to Googling it. So you Google it, you find out, and you see what people are using. But they come up like that all the time. You'll get them, and sometimes you just have to say no. There's another option. A lot of the banks have options now, online payments and things like that through banks. So you can figure that out, but everything is growing so fast and so quickly. You just have to remember, the bottom line is, yes, you want to be very, very open to these things, but you also want to be very careful. And that would be my recommendation.
For social media, I mean, just payments. I mean, it's going to segue more and more popular into payments to make commerce much faster and much more transactional, and it'll bring so much opportunity to people all over the globe to reach everyone all over the globe. So it's just going to speed up I mean, creating a flat world, so anybody can connect anywhere at any given time. They can get a like from Paris, and they can also get a purchase of their T-shirt at the same exact time. So from a social media standpoint, it's just going to speed up the commerce situation, and project real life in real time. From overall just general marketing, whether it's online to offline, I feel it's going to be a lot of voice search is going to be incorporated in the coming year and years, with Amazon just releasing Echo recently, and Google just announcing their version of voice search. It's not going to be just on your cell phone and doing a text message or an email. It's going to be doing like an order on Amazon or an order on a website where you can talk to a device without touching it in the room, and it's not your cell phone, where it'll know when your inventory will be low to reorder things and give you automatic reminders. So I think that's going to be really, really big, is voice search. So it's almost your personal assistant following you around. And even beyond that, it's going to be virtual reality. I mean, it's already hitting here right now. I mean, there's all these demos and of what putting those big goggles on, kind of like 3D goggles in a movie. But this is going to be for real.
Magic Mountain with their ride.
Yeah, Magic Mountain just rolled out their virtual reality ride. But this is going to be big in the next 5-10 years.
I think the problem with Bitcoin is the negative connotations it has because of its use on the darknet. Criminals are using it as a form of currency. So I think because of that, it's always going to have some mainstream resistance. So unless you are, running some kind of gray area type online business, and there are some out there that are completely legitimate. Can't say they're not. I would steer away from Bitcoin, just because I think the only time people hear about Bitcoin is when something bad happened with Bitcoin. That's usually the only time it ever ends up in the news. So I think that's people's kind of general reaction to Bitcoin. That being said, there's also the huge fluctuations it has in value. It's really hard to nail down a value on Bitcoin. It would really depend on your product or service and if it lends itself to needing an app as opposed to just a very well-designed mobile-friendly site. If you have, and I'm going to struggle to come up with something off the top of my head here, but if you have a business that, maybe an app would be, I'll go back to the hair salon, maybe a scheduling app where you can load up their app and, pick which hairstyles you want, pick what time you want, pick what services you want. It tallies up your bill. You pay before you even show up, so you just show up and get your hair cut. That would be kind of a neat app to do. Is it completely necessary? Probably not. Is it a value add? If you are a big fancy salon and you can afford it, sure, why not? So I really think that would be something that each business would need to analyze individually and decide whether or not it makes sense for them to spend money on an app or to really, really focus on making sure their website's as mobile friendly as possible.
It's not just the social media, but it's what you can do with it. Diving in a little bit deeper into like Instagram, you can have, basically get all the data and find out all the posts that are happening with your particular hashtag. So it's really good to get a hashtag for your company, get people using it, anything around that. All that can be collected. There's several different programs out there for one of the companies that I was consulting with, Scotia, which they don't have very good branding, but their sales, they're 150 million a year. And one of the things that I had them do is I did the research and found a company that was they were very cost effective for what they were going to do. And you collect and aggregate all the posts that are coming in, and you can decide whether you want to engage those people who posted about your products. You can also make those sellable, so you can make, even from somebody else's post, you can make your product sellable from that post. So let's say it's a bikini company, and you see some people took some pictures of it. You can either contact them or not contact them, but you can utilize their what's called user-generated content for your products. You can use that on your site, you can comment on it, and then you can also make that product sellable. So anybody can click on that and they can buy that product just from that. So there's a lot of options out there. It really depends on how big the company is that you're working with, what types of budgets they have. There's also personalization. There's also search personalization. There's a lot of programs that help you with search when you go to the site. So if you start typing in something into the search, it'll start to populate down. There'll be a drop down from that. You can have pictures, not pictures. So if you just start to type in black, all the popular items will start to come up in that search. So there's a lot of options out there. It's a lot to think about, but it really also depends on the budget and the company and how many products they have. If you have a company with thousands of SKUs, that type of search works out really well.
What we've noticed is that we haven't seen any major consistency with ad time posting or anything like that, really. What we do is we test. So, we start off with a very kind of basic routine. We're gonna post, in the mornings, maybe around 10 a.m. Once someone's already at work, they're sitting down, they're at their computer, they got through their morning emails, they might have a few minutes to go, they're gonna jump on Facebook for a few minutes, even though they shouldn't be. And then we'll see, what kind of engagement we get at 10 a.m. And then maybe next week we'll try posting at noon and see what kind of engagement we get. And you just kind of always want to be testing with your posting times and with your budgets and with your ads, what times you're running ads. Especially if you have a small budget, you really want to be testing so you can maximize the return on your investment. And the only way you can do that is by consistently testing. In general, we try to stay away from that. We do have some clients who use post management softwares. Hootsuite's a good one. And we like to stagger them off. So, we'll maybe do Facebook postings in the morning, maybe Instagram postings later in the afternoons. A lot of people are on all the networks. Not everyone is, but a lot of people are, especially millennials. They're gonna check 3 or 4 different social media networks a day, and it's probably not ideal for them to see the same thing posted on 5 different networks. It's, again, they're going to get bored seeing that, and they're going to start thinking, do I really want to be following this person on Instagram? I just saw this post on Facebook. I would try to think of it from that point of view.
And I know we still have more questions, and thank you to our panel for being such a great resource for us today.